I really like it down here. I live literally right by the World Trade Center. I walk home. I live above it, actually. My ankle bracelet tells the government where I am every second of the day, any time of the day. But it's gonna come off when I go to prison, I think. And I don't think I'm wearing this in prison, so that's what the plan is for that.
Closing numbers on the markets today. At one point, the market fell as if down a well.
It was an historic day with Wall Street shaken to its very foundation. And even the health of the most trusted firms are now being called into question.
We have former secretaries of Treasury who go from government to Wall Street pocketing hundreds of millions of dollars.
In 2008, I became somewhat obsessed with the role that money itself played in the crisis and the role that governments and banks played in money. And why was it that our money was controlled by central banks?
If something new happens, is the government likely to give it a nod or at least ignore it for a while? Or is the government likely to come down and try to crush it because they're afraid of anything new and different?
This is a monetary revolution. Bitcoin is the honest currency.
In 2011, I was into Bitcoin sort of just as a hobby. I didn't really know what to do in it yet. I was trying to meet everyone I could, figure out what projects would be cool to work on. I met Roger Ver sort of in August of that year, and a few months later he recommended to this guy Charlie Shrem, who started BitInstant, that Charlie should hire me as the head of marketing for BitInstant.
Bitcoin is cash with wings. It's the ability to be able to take a local transaction and do it globally. And that's why Bitcoin is going to overturn the financial infrastructure. Bitcoin is like the largest socio-economic experiment the world has ever seen.
Our conversations would range from, the mundane and practical, like how the hell are we going to get another bank account since our current bank account's probably going to get shut down any day now, to very high-minded aspirational ones, like, is this actually going to change the world in a good way? Are we just a bunch of crazy people who don't know what the hell we're talking about? Or are we actually starting to initiate an industry which in hindsight will look obvious to everyone, but right now it's not?
Charlie Shrem was, at that stage, a fairly high-profile figure in the Bitcoin community, the vice chairman of the Bitcoin Foundation, and one of these Bitcoin millionaires who made a lot of money very quickly and really played an important role in the infrastructure of managing the movement of funds around the system in that early rudimentary phase.
632 bid, 654 offer in the New York cash market for Bitcoin. Buyers right now will pay $632 cash on the spot.
Where have you been getting your Bitcoin, sir?
Who's next for the Bitcoin? You want to know what Bitcoin is?
I don't want it. I know what it is. You know what I prefer? I prefer dollars.
But I have Bitcoin, and in the last 2 weeks, I got 1/3 more dollars from the Bitcoin.
Call me in a year and let me know how it's going for you.
If you want to go on down to 40 Broad, right next door to the stock exchange there, to the New York Bitcoin Center, you can buy and sell all the time.
You have a table in the middle.
Yeah.
Just one small table round, and it have flowers, like a flower arrangement. A really nice flower arrangement.
Bitcoin flowers?
Coin flowers. So coin flowers would be white lily, purple, and orange. Which is right here, 3 colors.
We're putting together the first Bitcoin center here in New York City, right next door to the New York Stock Exchange. Bitcoin is a new space, and many of the rules and regulations haven't been imposed yet, but we will open one day soon, after the lawyers do their job, a live digital currency exchange. What's happening here is a fusion between Wall Street and Bitcoin, hopefully.
Satoshi seemed to acknowledge that it would be hard for Bitcoin to develop in any way in which it wasn't interacting with the regular economy of dollars and euros. The problem with exchanges is that they took you back to this old world that Bitcoin was really trying to get away from. As soon as you move back to an exchange, you're moving back to a world in which some third party has all this personal data on you, has all of your money, has all the security vulnerabilities, and really has none of those strengths that Bitcoin was designed to provide.
There are 21 million Bitcoins programmed into the system that are going to be released. It's a set number. But within that, every single Bitcoin can be divided up into 100 million different pieces. So there's room for it to expand as the use expands, especially in the emerging markets, in the developing world. That is really the most interesting place to see where this thing goes.
So in my pocket, I have 100 trillion Zimbabwe dollars from the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, just as a reminder of, what happens if our governments screw up our money.
Zimbabwe is a good example of a government that lost the trust of their people. And they lost the trust of their people by printing too much money and causing runaway hyperinflation. So I think you will see people in other parts of the world who've experienced hyperinflation, who've experienced bank failures. I think those will be the kind of people who are looking for something new, right? They're willing to take the risk.
A lot of us take the capacity to send money to others, receive money, store money, and do it electronically these days for granted because we are amongst the lucky 50% or so of the world that have bank accounts. But 2.5 billion adults in the world do not have access to bank accounts. A technology like Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, has the capacity to bring those people into the financial system, to give them this power to effectively have what you could argue is a bank in their cell phone, a bank in their pocket, really could open up commerce to a lot of people who are currently excluded from it.
Somebody who is maybe working in one country and they want to send money back home. And right now, like Western Union is a big way that people do remittances.
From a Western Union perspective, we serve clients in many different locations around the globe and primarily for remittances. Western Union serves typically an unbanked customer, a customer who is either a migrant worker or an individual who doesn't feel comfortable in the financial services sector.
And the problem with remittances is they're really expensive. So if I'm sending $100 back home, I may end up spending $5 or $10 just on fees to get that money back to my family. That's a huge percentage if you're poor and working. So since Bitcoin doesn't care about borders, I could just send Bitcoin to another country, and if my family in that other country has some way of spending that Bitcoin or has some way of exchanging that Bitcoin into the local currency, then it's just quicker and cheaper and more convenient. And a lot of people think that remittances will be one of the really big first uses for Bitcoin.
The one challenge there is we deal with, in our company, 750 transactions peak a second, and those happen instantly. If you look at a blockchain, you have to wait for verifications, and if you do a recent test, it takes about 15 minutes for every transaction to be validated by the network. That doesn't scale, so it has its challenges as well.